Welcome to our June Mass Energized community meeting, which we sometimes refer to as our community of practice. It's really all of us trying to do similar work and a chance to once a month get together in what we always refer to as our learn and share model. Tonight is both a learning and a sharing. We've got stuff that we want to share with you, teach you, but we have no external speakers. We're gonna talk a little bit about the new software we have that Kat will go over. So if you have questions on the software, how to do things, and also for onboarding new communities, we are going to have Amy and colleague Mike talk about new tools we're going to give you for Google Analytics to see how your sites are behaving and how many people are visiting, because people might not be creating accounts, but you're getting folks on your sites. We're going to have about a half hour for community sharing, and we're going to think about that with requests and offers. So I know we have some requests for you guys, but if there are things other communities need help with or they want to offer as a resource, we'll offer something from Newton for sure. And then Amy's going to go over the EV data that we now have access to for all your communities from the state. And then she'll also go over some software updates. So that's really our plan. We'll have a half hour for kind of sharing, but a lot of updates. But use the chat, raise your hand if you feel like you want to jump in here. So let me start with some pretty exciting announcements. Well, let me first have our interns introduce themselves. So Kim and Marina, do you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Sounds good. Hi all, I'm Marina. I'm a rising junior at Tufts University. I'm studying environmental studies and engineering psychology. This is my second summer interning at Mass Energized. I liked it so much last summer that I had to come back. Last summer I was a communications intern mainly. I was doing outreach work, and then this summer I'm doing a bunch of data analysis and other side projects. And yeah, I'm very, very happy to be back and great to see you all.
Okay, Kim, and then we'll go to Maria. Kim.
Yeah, hey guys, my name is Kim. I'm a rising juniors at UMass Amherst. I study computer science and mathematics. This is my first summer interning at Mass Energized, so I'm really excited to work with everyone in the team.
Great. Maria?
Hi everyone, I'm Maria. I'm a rising junior at MIT studying computer science and engineering, and then minoring in the environment and sustainability. So I'm really interested in how we can use computer science for sustainability. I'm really excited to be at Mass Energized this summer, kind of working on some of the software development stuff.
Okay, great. So we got a talented pool of young people to keep us on our toes, advance our mission-oriented work. So we're thrilled about that. So the fun news I get to announce, and this I'm particularly thinking about Ellen from Harvard and Karen from Acton as I say this, and Leslie from Sudbury too. So we it's not completely official, so not to be shared sort of outside of what I would say our immediate community here. We anticipate getting an earmark from State Senator Jamie Eldridge that will allow us to develop some materials. He's actually announced it. If you know the process, the House and the Senate both pass bills, and it goes to conference, and they, then it's a done deal. It's passed the Senate. We're in there. It's never happened before if you're in there for an earmark that you come out, but could happen. So we will have some resources to work with a cohort of communities to run some community engagement campaigns. And the cohort will decide what the topic will be, but we will be developing some template materials for social media, template materials for letters from your town officials to residents, template materials for banners, social media posts, all of which can be tailored for specific communities. So we'll have materials, and then we'll have enough money to actually hire someone who can coach us all and maybe do some of the outreach work in these communities. And then we will be evaluating how well what we're doing is working, like which of these outreach strategies is more productive. We've learned in Wayland recently, putting something in the back of the census mailer was way more effective for us than the letter from the town manager, like way more effective, because everyone actually opens that thing and fills it out. So we hope to have some learnings around that. And once this gets finalized, we'll pick the number of communities that we think we can work with, but we will probably need to tilt to at least have quite a few that are in Jamie's district, which that's what takes me to Sudbury, Acton, Harvard, Wayland too. But I think we'll have room for a few other communities. So to the extent you guys, want to say something nice to Jamie, like thank you, that would be great. I think Wayland's new in his district, so he wanted to show Wayland some love. We used to be in Becca's district. And we're excited to develop these materials, and we'll do it and evaluate in such a way that we'll then have them for everybody else, but we'll kind of be in a test bed for trying. So we're really excited about it, and we're really excited to not only have materials, but we'll be looking to hire someone who can do some of the coaching and staffing and helping people learn how to post stuff on social media and actually help you with some staff time, because I know capacity is an issue for people, not just intention. So that's really excited. And stay tuned for more. So let me, with that, hand it over. I'm happy to also take questions, on that later, and there'll be lots more discussion about that, but pretty fun, I think. Kat, I'm gonna hand it over to you to talk about the new on-demand resources.
Great, thanks, Helen. Yeah, that's good news. We have been working for quite a while on moving all of our other resources like playbooks, toolkits, social media kits, and all of that, and even recordings of, like, for instance, community of practice meetings to one platform. And we chose a platform called Thinkific, and that becomes our resource center. And I just want to give you a quick tour and invite you all to check that out. I think I am sharing my screen here. This one. Hope you can all see that. So this is, now I have to move all these little things here. Apologies. So this is the new Mass Energize Resource Center. And we chose to work with this because we all know that Google Drive wasn't quite cutting it for many reasons, for several reasons. And so we're moving all of those resources off Google Drive onto this Thinkific platform. And you can just go to resources.massenergize.org, and we will share that link in our follow-up email. And you'll hit this homepage with a little bit about us. For the moment, it's quite simple and basic yet. You just click on all resources, and then you can see all the playbooks that we've moved over so far. Some very exciting ones here already. If you are looking for resources that were shared during a community of practice meeting or the recordings of those, we have uploaded all of those community of practice meetings here in this site as well. And when you click on them, you will see that not only do you have the recording, but all the spreadsheets and the flyers and the presentations that were shared are in those as well. Lastly, we also have resources for admins, and the admins amongst you, you may be wondering, what do I do when I can't remember something? I haven't been in a certain part of the admin in a while, and I've forgotten how to do it. It used to be, again, that you had to go to the Google Drive and rummage around in there. Now we have created a brand new admin training with videos, etc. And you can access that here as well. That admin training, because it's with videos, it's quite up to date. But as you all know, we actually improve our platform and both the user side and the admin side quite often. So the admin training will always be a little bit behind, but we're running to catch up each time.
Hey, Amy,
So,
Kat, can you just click on that? What happens if they click? Just show them what happens when they click on the admin training.
I will. Let me just, I want to show you the difference between the admin training and some of these other playbooks. So if you go to the other playbooks, all of those are free for you to enroll yourself. So when you click on this one, for instance, you will see here this enroll for free button. And you can also scroll down and kind of see what's in here. For instance, it has lots of case studies. You cannot click on them. You have to enroll first. And to do so, you just click on this button, and that will bring up this particular page. And it's a little tricky because this is on Thinkific. So you have to create an account on Thinkific, and then you can enroll in all of these playbook, in all of these resources. So you click on that button and you can just sign in if you already have a Thinkific account. Maybe you took a course in Thinkific at some other time, in which case you have the account. All you have to do then is either sign in with Google or these other ways, or you can put in your email. If you already have the account, you put in your password and click continue. Or if you don't have an account yet, you just put in your email and click sign up. And then you will get an email with all the information and you will be automatically enrolled. Another way to sign in is to click on the sign in button up here. And that will take you again to a different looking page, but it's the same deal. Over here, if you already have an account, you just fill in and you go ahead, or you use the OAuth here with Google, etc. Or you can create a new account if you don't have an account yet. Again, you will receive an email, a welcome email to our Mass Energized Resource Center, and you'll just take it from there. So the one exception to this is, let me go here back here again, resources for admins, is our website admin training. We don't want just anyone to be able to enroll in that. It's just for our admins. And for that, it's a little different. You have to email us and we have to enroll you. I propose that all of you admins let me know and email us at support@massenergize.org in the next couple of days, so I can enroll you then. And Amy will talk a little bit about what's happening on the admin side with the MOU, etc. And we may connect these two things, but just let me know, even though you think like, oh, I'm all set with the training, I don't need reminders. Enroll anyway, because once you do need the reminder, you will want to have been enrolled already and not have to go this. And within 5 minutes, then you will find your answer on this in this training. So we're very excited about this. Stop sharing. We are going to keep adding playbooks and toolkits there. It's a great site because you don't just share text and spreadsheets and presentations, but you can upload and download stuff there as well. So super versatile tool for us to use. And as always in Mass Energize, we love crowdsourcing. So if you have a great playbook, something to share, send it our way, and we can put it right there on Thinkific and share it with the other communities that way as well. Yeah, and as I said, in the follow-up email, we will share some more information and the link to that. That's it for me.
Questions for Kat? Kat, I was wondering, could you demo what it looks like if you're an admin to see, like, if I forgot how to enter a data thing, or I forgot how to add an event, I just want to give people a flavor for that. Ellen has a question. Ellen, do you want to ask your question?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so we had 2 people who are admins and one of them is not on the committee anymore. So can I change that to somebody else so that person who's actually our outreach person would have access?
Oh, yes. And actually, I will show you right now. So I'm signed in as Steve. But this little thing is not really, let me get here. Let me show you how to do that right away. Let me go to resources for admins. So Ellen, you actually, yesterday I enrolled you in this. So you just click on this. It looks like I have not been enrolled as Steve. I may have to show something else. Because way too many personas on this thing, trying to try things out. So for instance, I won't be showing the admin here, but it looks the same. So all of these Thinkific courses look like this, and they're all courses in a very broad sense. For instance, you will end up here on the first page. There will always be a little introduction, and then you can always use the sidebar to navigate to what you want. So also in the admin interface, in the admin training, you will be able to use the sidebar to find an answer to the question you may have. All of these lessons, as they're called, are very well named. So for instance, Ellen, you want to change an admin, you want to take someone off and add someone new in. The title will just be like adding and editing and removing admins. So you would just then click on it and it will all be explained in the lesson. So this is basically what all of them look like. For instance, this one has some nice case studies as well. Just a little tour here of this one. Any other questions?
Megan?
Kat, is it true that the video and the text are essentially the same? Like you can read it or watch the video?
Yes, and that's the case for in the admin training for sure. There will be a video. It's all explained in the text itself, but there will be a video and you can just watch the video. And underneath, if you're not the kind of person who likes to get instruction through video, you can just read the text underneath or follow along with the text as well. So oftentimes we like to approach it in two ways because we know not everyone has the same learning style as well. Good question. Anyone else?
Yeah, I was just wondering, will this resource page also have other kinds of resources? I mean, like right now it has the playbooks and the, community of practice meetings, but what if somebody did a flyer that was really great, and not a flyer, but like a resource sheet about, say, incentives? I mean, is that something that'll eventually be posted?
Yes, we can definitely do that. We can post things that you can then just download. What we've also done, and actually maybe we'll go to this one, which was just the latest one that was uploaded. For instance, this one has, it's about inviting people back to your platform. And this comes out of Medfield. They ran this campaign, they tested it out. Certain things worked, certain things didn't. They then rewrote the playbook and they're sharing it with us, which is great. And one of the resources in this particular one is sample materials in Canva. So communities, if you have even a free account in Canva, you can just click on any of these links and here's the instructions. And then you will get the template, which has Medfield in it, right? But then when you copy that and then create your own, you can just take Medfield out, put in your own community name, and it's all yours, and you run with it. And with the earmark, we will be working on such template materials that then you will be able to customize, and you'll find those here on this resource, in this resource center. Yes, we can. It's great because we can share all kinds of media. So if you have any, just send them our way. And we'll see how we want to organize them, because of course we don't want like a long slew of different courses. We will want to organize them a little bit, but yes, for sure, send whatever resources you have our way. This is a really good way of sharing.
Yes, I think the answer is yes, and it's up to all of us to populate what we want to share. So I have there are nice fact sheets on IRA incentives, so we could have something just on IRA might be a lesson, and we could put a bunch of stuff in on that. So you'll have to send it to us and then we'll upload. You guys wouldn't have the ability to upload directly because I think we want to just take a look at what's before we post it. But should be a great resource. I want to, first of all, let me just give a huge shout out to Kat, organizing all this and our operations team of Amy and Steve to kind of think, okay, which platform do we use? I think they feel great about Thinkific. It's interesting. It'll be, we were attracted to it for a whole variety of reasons. So I know it's another platform you have to join with a username and password, but I have to do this for a zillion things in my other job and, figure it out. And, but it'll give you access to a ton of stuff. And we were just having a lot of people having troubles with Google Drives and other things. So we wanted to come up with something that we thought everybody could have a shot at.
And I
Kat?
want to add one more thing. We haven't opened that up on Thinkific yet, but we have noticed that many of you just don't want to be on Slack, but you may want to talk with one another once in a while. And so Thinkific actually has a forum function as well. We've not turned that on yet, but we may experiment with that to start with our admins maybe, and see if that is the kind of forum that would appeal to you, where you can meet one another and talk in groups apart from, for instance, our community of practice meeting here. So that may be something we'll turn on later. And again, we'll send you all an email to say that that's available as well.
In the meantime, jump into Slack. It's working for a bunch of people, so like keep trying that. So Amy, I think I'm going to jiggle the agenda and turn to you now for the EV stuff while we wait for Mike. So this is, I'm sort of a data nerd with Amy, but this is incredibly interesting and exciting stuff that we have access to. Go for it, Amy.
All right. Thanks, Helen. So we have been in conversation with the Mass DOT. They have been developing a new database that will become available online on June 30th, and it's going to have all sorts of amazing information. I'm pretty excited about it. The types of information will include not just like the number of vehicles in your community, the type of vehicles, but also vehicle miles traveled. So it's going to be a really robust data set. We have chatted with them a couple times just to get a glimpse into what kind of, how many EVs each of our communities has currently. And so they sent us a preliminary inventory, and we have that for each of our communities. And I just wanted to show everyone here and say congrats that, like, if you compare the communities that are enrolled or are part of Mass Energized, are participating, versus communities that are not, you can see we have a lot more EVs, hybrids, and plug-in hybrids than non-Mass Energized communities. So our gas and diesel percentage of the vehicle inventory is lower than those that aren't. It means we're all doing a great job and getting this done and have supportive communities. So that's really cool. Okay, I'm going to show you the next slide, and then I'm going to come back to these 2 points. And if I can advance the slide, there we go. All right, so these are our communities at the time that I created this table. I think we may have a couple communities that have joined, and we can add you in, certainly. So they have listed separately the number of full electric vehicles, hybrid electric vehicles, plug-in hybrid electric vehicles. And then they also have something that's fuel cell vehicles, of which I believe there's one in the state. So I didn't include that here. I summed the number of all. Yeah.
I'm just confused. Electric vehicles are fully electric. Plug-in hybrid, I get what that is. It's a hybrid and you plug it in for electricity. So hybrid electric, are those just hybrids?
So these often are vehicles that have that stop when they're idling, or may have regenerative braking, but they don't plug in. So they usually have a much smaller battery.
Which one?
The hybrid electric vehicles.
So the hybrid is what most people think of as hybrid vehicles, not hybrid electric.
Yes.
Okay, I think we might want to title that as hybrid. I think most people think of that as hybrid.
Okay. And the Mass DOT terminology, I think I use Mass DOT terminology, so we'll see what's on their website. But yes, this is what most people think of as hybrid. So if you sum these three, and people are going to have different opinions whether you should include hybrids in this set or not, I bet, if we ask people here. But if you sum these three that are not strictly gas or diesel vehicles, then these are the number of passenger vehicles that are EVs in your community. And we will be sharing this table and information out with you. The other thing we would like to do is to enter your number of EVs, that number you saw, the total number, into your community as an action known as state data. So what that means is you will see a big bump in your bar graph for electric vehicles as an action for the transportation category. basically. To avoid double counting, if you have, let's say you have 300 EVs that Mass DOT has reported, you have 30 marked actions are done for EV in your community, we would enter 270, just so that we would have a total of 300 matching the state database. We're going to do this for all communities, unless you let us know you do not wish us to enter this data. It helps us represent how much work we are all doing collectively, and how engaged our communities are, really, by showing the full scope of the data that is available to us. And that is that. Sorry, one last thing. The database should be, I already mentioned this, available June 30th online. We are hoping to bring in a Mass DOT speaker early next fall to one of our community practices to speak with us about that. So, all right, with that, I'll take any questions.
Ellen has a question for you. She asks, what's the date of these data?
This is, I believe this is May 13th.
When the portal's open, Ellen, it'll be real time, so it'll be constantly updating. And I think one of the things that we want to think about working on is there a way we can just regularly be updating the sites without having to enter, like if that's a service we could provide to you, but we've got to let that portal come online, and then we got to get people like Alex to help us figure that out. Eric?
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand what it means when it says minus current EV actions completed. What is the actions completed?
Great question, and I wish I had a screenshot to show you. I apologize on that. So in our platform, your users created a profile and they log in and they mark off certain actions as done or to do. So they mark off, I have solar on my roof, done. I have an electric vehicle, done. Then in your community, it will sum up the number of user reported actions. And that's the current EV actions completed that I'm.
Amy, I can Amy, I can just screen share here for a sec, so you can.
Okay,
Oh, can you
yeah.
enable screen sharing for me, somebody? Whoever started the meeting.
You should be able to share now, Ellen.
Yep. So this is, I just picked the Energize Wayland site because that was up on my thing. And if you remember from the home screen, this is the home screen. I just went to impact. So Eric, in our platform, people register, and then they register the actions they've done or those on their to-do list. And those are shown here in this bar graph. This is self-reported EVs in Wayland is 111. Kat and I actually already entered these data as of like 2 months ago and subtracted out the self-reports. So what we would do, let's say the number was, this was 111. So let's say it was 600, be 710. We would have, we would show the self-reports and we would show the state data. But when we give you the total number of actions, we subtract the self-reports from the state data.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, that makes sense. I think I was just confusing it with the state data versus the Mass Energize data. So,
yeah,
thanks.
And I think the other thing that Amy and I chat about, Amy, but chime in, everybody has a different way of where they count households, and we're going to leave that up to you. We're going to discuss it. A lot of these people have not signed up on our platform. You in your own community can make a determination to say, of the, say, 590 EVs in Wayland, we'll assume, this would be generous, I think, 20% of those people have an account on Energize Wayland. So we could have upped our household account by the other 80% of 599. But that's kind of a policy call for you guys. And I think Amy and I just want to at least get the actions in there, so your sites are representative of what's actually happening, and that we can look across the board at all of our sites. In the chat, people, I'm going to stop sharing so maybe I can see hands up. Are there questions in the chat? What's the? I think the question was, what's the source of the data, Amy? And is it excise tax? I don't know. How do they
This is from the registry of motor vehicles.
And I think, Amy, that we should discuss, I think when people, I actually be interested in people's use. When I think of EVs, I think most people think of plug-in or fully electric, not hybrid. So the question is, are we entering data also for hybrids or only fully electric? The state seems to be putting those all in a category of reduced emissions vehicles, basically. We tend to have an action of electric vehicles. We could have another action that is hybrid, because now we have a way of counting that. And we could put those electric in one, Amy, and then hybrid in another, and then at least people could, you could see the difference.
Not for
Could be
state
dis-
data yet, but
Yeah.
we're working on it. And yes, I think you and I could go back and forth on that one for a long time, along with many people on this call. I don't know that there is a right or wrong answer.
Other questions for Amy? Here's what I want to say, like, this is the kind of data we wanted, right? Like, we want to know the EVs in our community has been friggin' impossible to get. So we will probably send around an email of the gal working on this. I think it's Sandy. And, it'd be great if a lot of people sent her an email saying, thank you, this is great. Because you know how thankless it is to work in government sometimes to get stuff done. So I feel like maybe we could do that, and people would take a moment to just say thank you to this woman and that part of DOT. And we will certainly be in touch with Mike Barrett, who had legislation to force them to do things like this, and they're actually doing it. So it's great. It's really great. We'll be able to see progress. And so if we do an outreach campaign on EVs, we'll actually be able to know how many people bought EVs in our communities. It's fantastic. So hopefully one day we'll have it for Mass Save, but we already have it for solar. And we can also put in updated solar data for all of you guys in your sites, because that's pretty good state data. Alex helped us work on with Amy on how to get that data from different websites. All right, Amy, anything else you want to say on this?
It looks like Karen has the question.
I just wondered if there's, it's great to have this data, absolutely marvelous. I'm wondering if there's any way to see the data per community, like over the course of a number of years. Because I'm just thinking if we could create some graphs where we can show, 2 EVs purchased, 3 EVs purchased, 25 EVs purchased, 300 EVs, if we could kind of like use that psychological element to say, hey.
Yeah, it's a great question. And when the database is released, I believe they'll have data going back to 2020. Don't quote me on that year, but there's going to be a big gap in years, when the EVs really started taking off from like 2013 to 2019 or 2020. We're not going to have that data, at least at the start. But it will be back at least 2 years from the current date.
Any other questions for Amy? Okay, so I think, Amy, at this juncture, should we go to the Google Analytics with Mike and you?
I don't think Mike's on yet, so at least I don't see him. So let's get out of data for a little bit and talk community sharing.
Okay, so that one comes back to me. So just in terms of our overall community of practice, we are taking July and August off from our monthly meeting. So that is happening. I think we're in for this next half hour interested in just people sharing what you've got going for summer plans over the next couple of months, just sort of what people have kind of in the hopper. And then we could do a little round robin, but I also don't mind. We also want to do some offers and requests. Are the things people want to offer, things people need help with. So I think I'm going to just kick that off a little. Is there anyone from Newton on? I didn't see Marcia or Leah. Who?
I'm here. 1 second.
Oh, Leah. Oh, fantastic. Perfect. So Leah, I thought one thing you could share, which you sent to me, is the For Our Future 2-pager, which I actually downloaded and have somewhere. So if you want, I can screen share and you could talk about that document. And I think Melrose is trying to tailor it. Is that okay?
If you have it downloaded and easy to pull up, wonderful. I can pull it up as well. If
I
that's
got it. I'm on it. So I'll let you talk just about what's going on in Newton these days, but in particular this resource, and if people, wanted to have at it. So I'll let you talk about this.
Yeah, so overall, our electrifying and or efficiency campaign, we call it For Our Future because we're focused on 4 key actions: weatherization, heating and cooling, renewable energy, and green transportation. And so we put together this 2-pager back front of questions to ask to help you figure out what are your next steps and whether that might be something to do tomorrow or something that might be a larger project to plan out, over the next few years. So, and the sort of key questions about electrical panels, insulation before heating and cooling, things like that, to think through in what sort of order you might be doing. It was a lot of thinking and iterations to get to this point, and I don't think that this is the end all be all. I could definitely see this changing down the road, but the idea is, but what we came to here was you're probably going to need to have some sort of conversation, presentation, something before handing this flyer out. So this would come at the end of whatever else might be going on, whether you're tabling, whether you're giving a PowerPoint presentation, having some sort of other conversation. And then at the end of that, you can hand this out and say, think through what your next steps might be. The other real key reason that I wanted to put this together was for, as we build out our outreach, making it much easier for neighbors to ask neighbors or peers to ask peers to do something. I felt like it was a much easier ask to turn to your friend or neighbor, or whoever it may be, and say, fill out a piece of paper, than it would be to turn to that same person and say, install a heat pump tomorrow, right? And so that's the goal behind this. We've just started to use it in our events, and I'm really looking to build out a lot more outreach kind of based around this with that neighbor to neighbor approach in the months to come. Certainly available for you to use. I made this in PowerPoint, so if you have PowerPoint, I'm happy to send you that for you to edit and brand as your own thing, but that's where we're at.
I think if you send it to us, we will send it out, but we can also put it up on Thinkific, which that resource we just went over with Kat, where we can, have resources for people to download. This seems like a good candidate. So, so this is an offer in the category of offers and requests. This is a Leora offer. Happy to share this. And Leora, I think, is Melrose also kind of tweaking this and thinking about how they are planning to use it? I thought
so I had sent this out to a handful of people who I had some conversations with, including Melrose, and then Martha Grover had sent it out from there. So that's how Melrose got involved. But
okay, any questions for Leora on this? Okay, and Mike, we're going to do this and have you present after. Amy, you talked to Mike on the chat. All right, other sharing, if people have things that they are planning this summer or things they want to share or something they need help with. Ricky.
Hi, I wanted to go right after Leora because we in Lexington love your for the Future campaign. We're trying to decide if we want to change it or go with it as is or have 5 for the future, etc. But we just think it's brilliant. And I had seen the lawn signs, but I just recently saw this worksheet, which I think is fabulous. So I definitely would like to get a hold of this. And it's come up because Lexington got a $30,000 grant from MassSave for a clean, I forget what they call the grant, but it's an education grant, and it's open again. I think they're still taking applications maybe till the end of June. And we have hired a part-time we're calling it a clean heat outreach specialist. So we have a part-time person who's going to start just focusing on just this. And so we'll try to be employing all the different ideas different communities have, and anything we come up with, of course, we're willing to share. But we're pretty excited about that because we have, as I know some other towns do, I don't know about on here, we have energy advisors that are volunteers from the town that have been trained by Abode. So the energy advisors talk with residents about putting in heat pumps, and sometimes they can answer all the questions. If they come up to a situation where they can't answer the question, we have a certain number of hours with Abode to give sort of the next level of advice. And our sustainability manager just wrote a successful grant to be able to train 4 more energy advisors. So we've had over 80 people sign up to have an energy coach come. So we're pretty excited with that number. So anyway, that's our sort of plan over the summer, is kind of gear things up so we can kick things off in the fall. And we hope to have an energy fair with actual vendors. Good to see everyone again.
Yeah, great. And I think, well, let me let other people share. Who else? Ellen from Harvard.
Okay, a couple of things, and 1 or 2 you might be interested in. So first, I want to thank Steve Bright, who's on. We had on Saturday at our general store, we did a heat pump with coaches, and we had 7 coaches there after he did his presentation, and 7 coaches there who could talk to people who came in the community. And I must admit that we had about 25 people, and at least 7 of them, 8 of them want coaches. So, it was easy to set up, and it was, we spent 2 or 3 hours there, but I think it was a way to do it rather than one-on-one. And then people who wanted coaches could get coaches. So I think that's been really good. Second thing, I don't know how many communities this would apply to, but we're starting to talk about forest management. I know this is a little different for what you guys do, but I mean, for communities that have a lot of forest land and homeowners that have a lot of forest land and don't know how to manage it, we're probably going to have something in the fall at one of the Sudbury Valley Trustees and Harvard Conservation Trust trails, where we're going to have people placed on a good trail that's been managed well and one that's not, and show people what the difference is. And how to manage the land they might have. And we're talking about land coaches. I mean, I don't know what that's going to be, but we're starting this conversation about, should we have coaches, for that kind of thing, about how to manage your land and blah, blah, blah. So more to come on that. And I will let people know, because that would be open to anybody who wants to come with families. And then lastly, just so you know, we have our flags. We got a small grant for flags to put on people's lawn. I just bought garden flag posts, and we're designing flags. So anybody who goes on Mass Energize, completes at least 2 actions, puts that testimony up about those 2 actions, would get a flag on their property. So I'm purchasing 300 flags. I'm being incredibly optimistic, but I want to see flags all over town, and I want that to push other people to do things. And it can be anything that they want to do, 2 things, but they have to prove it. And then I told that to the select board. And I even had one select board member say, I want one of those flags. And I was like, so get on the site. So we'll see.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. I'm going to go Karen, then Debbie.
Just piggybacking on Ellen, I think it's really great for us to talk about forest management and carbon capture. I think it's really important. If any of you have been walking in the woods lately, you might notice that all the beech trees are infected and they're dying. And I mean, the American beech is such a keystone species. I mean, it's very sobering, and I think it's important for us to think about forests. So yeah, that's a really cool idea. And I'll talk to you more, Ellen, because Acton was thinking of doing a talk in the fall. So maybe we can coordinate with what you guys are doing.
And I'm going to go to Debbie.
Hi. Well, what's on my mind is a conversation we started a few meetings ago about school buses, electric school buses. And I haven't heard anything about where that project stands, or I think there was a grant proposal that was written. So if anyone here knows about that, and wants to fill me in, we can do this offline. Or if you want to share it with everyone to inspire people, I'd just like to see what's going on with that.
I think we could do a quick roundup. I think many of the communities applied for the EPA money, and I don't know that anyone on this all got it, but there are everybody with a sustainability manager, I think, is looking into how they can fund electric school buses. Is that fair to say, Eric? And I don't know if Abby's still on this, or just looking at people who have sustainability managers on this call. I mean, assume Acton, I mean, the EPA money is targeted to go to environmental justice or Justice 40 communities. So a bunch of these communities would not qualify, but there are some new Mass CEC resources. So I think communities are pursuing that. It isn't something your town has to pursue it to get those monies. So anybody else want to chime in here?
Ellen, the last I heard, thanks, Karen, just give me a moment. A bunch of communities had banded together to apply for, I think it was an MAPC grant. So there's information there that might not have crossed our desks. And maybe Karen, you know something?
Not about that. I know Acton applied for the federal funds, but we were not eligible. I know that Mothers Out Front Acton is thinking about doing a campaign on electric school buses. I don't know the details, but I'll pass on any information if I find out.
Great, thank you. Just wanted to check in on that.
You want to check in? Yep,
Yeah,
Haley?
so Debbie, I was part of the group that sort of got towns together to ask MAPC to have a planning grant, partly because we couldn't figure out how to apply for some of these federal grants, not owning buses, not having charging facilities. So we got 3 or 4 communities together and had a sit down with MAPC. And they were interested in this because many communities in Massachusetts have exactly that issue, that we don't have buses resourced through the county, but through the community, and then often only one supplier and all that issue that we know of. And I have not heard back. I don't know that. So we handed it over to the school departments. Needham took the lead and actually wrote the application to MAPC. But I have not heard back that there was any decision made.
There is, I just want to say, there is Mass CEC money to help people get advice on how to think about their fleets and how to build their school buses, and communities can apply for that advisory service from Mass CEC. Actually, one of our former interns, Orly Strobel, is actually the point person running that program. So just shows you we help seeding the turf there. So
so we have it in? Is that what you're saying?
a nice conversation with Orly. She was very fond. She was very delighted to hear from us. So Catherine from Medfield.
Hi all. I just wanted to let everyone know we actually have 2 events coming up in Medfield. One is we are again going to be participating at Medfield on the Charles, which is one of the largest car shows in New England. They're expecting over 1,000 cars this year, not all of which are electric. In fact, it's a fairly small number, but we have our own section, and this is the 2nd year we've done it. Last year, I would estimate that we had about 200 people walk through the electric car area, which is a lot for a little town like Medfield. We're still, we have room for a few more drivers. So if you have an electric vehicle of any kind and would like to answer questions, please contact us. sustainablemedfield@gmail.com goes right to me, because we'd certainly love to have you come. And it's also the 70th anniversary of the Corvette. So if you're into Corvettes, but you need a real car for day to day, that might be another additional draw for you.
But Catherine, I think that could be one of those events that we share across communities. So if they want to pick it up for their site, we should be able to share it. Is that okay with you?
I'll send that out. I just finalized the copy today. I've been traveling and life has been a little unexpected, shall we say.
Yeah,
But
so
thank
Megan,
you.
we can, yeah, great. Okay, other things you want to share? I want to actually give Megan a moment to just talk about things this is sort of sharing, but offers and requests. We have a request. So Megan, you want to just talk about the fall thing and get people's input again and the fundraising question?
As you may have heard, we're planning a conference, an in-person conference for the fall. We're really excited about it. And we have so many ideas, but we'd like to actually hear from you for what you would like. What do you as a community grassroots leader need? What would you like from an in-person event? So we put together a survey and I will drop it in the chat. And we're going to also hopefully send it out with the follow-up from this meeting. So thank you for that. It shouldn't take too long, but we'd love your feedback. And we had a lot of ideas, but I left it open-ended so you could write them in. So because I didn't want to force, because we really want to hear what you would like to know. So thank you for that. And there's also the opportunity to sign up to help us. If anybody, loves to do that kind of thing. So that would be good. And then I'm also wanting to let you know that I'm working on fundraising with the core team. And as we ramp up our fundraising efforts in the local business community, we're actually hoping to connect with some companies that might be interested in learning more about what Mass Energize does and how they could support us. So we have a whole big long list of people we'd love to reach, but if you have a connection to someone that might be helpful or influential in this way, we'd love to be connected to them. And in particular, we're kind of starting with banks and some biotech firms. We thought those might be good fits for us. So any suggestions you have would be really appreciated. And you can email, I'm going to put Joe's email back in the chat again. She would be a great collector of any ideas, or you can reach out to me.
And I think the idea there, so a lot of times some of these companies do have a philanthropic side, but they're more inclined to give philanthropically when their own employees think it's a good idea sometimes. So it doesn't need to be someone who works on the philanthropic side for a corporation, just this is an employee. And some folks don't have a dedicated foundation, but may support. What we've heard is, they want their employees to be engaged in their own communities. And while they're doing sustainability things around their operations and, their emissions in their buildings and their transportation and their, upstream carbon emissions, all of that stuff, they recognize that what their employees do also has a big footprint, and they don't really all have ways to support helping their employees do things. So we think we're an interesting play for them, and we want to test out that thing. So, but we've definitely heard, so everybody knows them at Bank of America, Biotech, Fidelity, Eastern Bank, Citizens, all of those places. MathWorks is also on my list, since Debbie sort of a Natick place. I think we can put it in the follow-up, but these are all relational, and I think some of the things like the earmark that we're doing are to help coach some of you guys more specifically and give you more tools and more resources that you can then tweak and customize for your own use. So hoping to give you more and more resources and have the platform do more and more things too. All right. I probably have 5 minutes. Amy, we changed the agenda a little, so I think maybe 5 more minutes on this. Is that where we stand? Okay. Yeah. Any other summer plans that people want to let folks know about? Anybody need help with something you're really struggling with? You want to put out to the group? Amy.
I have one for any communities with curbside composting services that are supported by your town, whether it's an RFP you put out or services provided, etc. I'd love to hear how those were funded. We're trying to push that in Framingham.
Anybody going to tell Amy they're going to follow up with her on that? Anybody don't have to give the whole answer, but anybody have, I think Natick has that, right? And Newton. So Natick, so Jillian would be a resource. Debbie, Ricky, you guys have that in Lexington. You added composting to your trash roll.
Well, no, but we have a pilot going. So the idea is to build it over the years. So we have 2,000 person pilot going. But I can reach out to you, Amy, or you can reach out to me.
Yes, thank you. That's what we want to know.
Great. Okay. All right, Amy, I think I want to hand it to you and Mike.
Great. Awesome, guys. So I am really excited to introduce to you Mike Kinnelly, who's been working with us on setting up the new Google Analytics reports. Some of you may remember these from a long time ago. And Google Analytics switched its platform, so we have had to change around everything we do. And Mike has been the key part of this effort. So Mike, we give it to you to share our latest Google Analytics reports.
Thanks, Amy. That was a generous introduction. You and Brad did a lot of work as well, so appreciate the partnership there. It was fun getting these built. So yeah, hi everyone. I'm a part of the Sustainable Milton organization, and so I got involved with some of the work here with Mass Energize, and just wanted to show you all some of the new data that we have available that you'll either already be getting or starting to get pretty soon in your email inboxes. So just wanted to give a quick overview of what we now are showing, just so you have a sense of how to interpret kind of this new data that you'll be getting. So let me try to share my screen here. And if you have any questions, feel free to cut me off or ask away in the chat or anything like that. I'm assuming you can all see this though?
Yes.
Cool. So here's one example of Wayland's new report. And so these will all be customized to each individual community who's live on Mass Energize. And so the idea is in this top section, you have a few charts that show kind of trended results over time. And the main idea here is to understand your active user accounts. So this is really the number of people that are coming to your Mass Energize page. So you can get a sense of how big of a stretch and of a reach you're getting to your audience that you're trying to engage with. In the dark blue is for the last 4 weeks, and the light blue is for the prior 4 weeks. So you can kind of get a sense of, all right, is the amount of people that are coming to our site increasing or decreasing or staying flat? And just kind of get a sense there of how many people are coming to the site. And then
Mike, can I just question? Mike, can I just ask a question? So the x-axis says May 1 through May 31st. So if we just look at May 19th, the blue bar goes up, but the light blue bar on that same day is from April. Okay, so if you hover, it shows you what the date was for the light blue bar. Gotcha.
Exactly.
That's what you're doing. Thank you.
And when you receive this in your email, you'll have a link, and you can, there'll basically be a screenshot, and then you can click into it and it'll bring you to this page that's a little bit more interactive. Yep. And then so Google Analytics has this new metric around engagement rate. I won't get into too much of the details. There's a link here if you want to dive into that a bit more, but it's basically just trying to give an indication of, okay, you have all these people coming to the site. Are they actually doing something? Are they going to a different page? Are they clicking around? Are they quote unquote engaged? And so you can see here it's relatively flat over time. And I wouldn't necessarily kind of worry too much about the actual rate itself, but I think in general, you'd hope that this is increasing as you're kind of going forward, right? So it's kind of like baselining yourself and then seeing how you can do over time, and if you can get folks to be more engaged and interactive on the pages that you're creating and the actions that you're enabling them to start tracking and engaging with. But any questions on these ones? And I should say this is the average engagement rate, so it's basically in seconds, or it's a time-based metric, and so you can see how long they're engaging with your site.
I don't understand that. So what does percentage mean in that context? So the y-axis is percentage. So
Yep.
how long? Sounds like it would be a time thing, right?
Sorry,
Like,
so this average user engagement is time-based, and
Okay.
this is a percentage based. And so this is the percent of all your users, the percentage of those that are quote unquote engaged. And then of those that are engaged, what's their average time that they're engaged? Is this graph over here.
And that is 37, is it seconds, minutes?
It's seconds, yeah.
Seconds.
Yeah, we tried to give a few details under here, just as like a,
Sorry, I'm just very small to read.
yeah, I get it. And we're trying
Yeah.
to find a balance of like providing some information, but not being too overwhelming as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions for Mike? I don't want to dominate the question pool. I can't see it. People should just jump in because I can't see when there's a screen share and people raise their hands as much.
Yeah, I think I might have saw someone raising their hand.
Just
Yeah, go for it.
Will we be able to access through our admin site?
No, this is slightly different than there. So you'd have to access it through the link in the email.
So you would send us like one email and then we can just from anytime in the future access it, log in or?
Yep. And then Amy, remind me, are we scheduling it for every month or every week? I forget exactly what the cadence was.
Right, it's scheduled, Wendy, it's scheduled to get a report sent to your email every month. So you will get regular updates. And then if you want to go into the site, as Mike said, you'll have a link to go in and do further exploring.
Okay, thank you. Looks great.
Great. And then these two charts at the bottom here, they're just trying to give some overviews of this one on the left is session source, which is essentially where are the people coming from that make it to your site. And then this view is what pages are they looking at once they get to your site. And so here you can see for Wayland for this time period, Google was the biggest session source, right? So most folks are searching on Google for maybe Wayland sustainability or something tied to that. And they come to the Wayland Mass Energized page. And you can see the other one here is direct. So maybe they have it like bookmarked in their page or something like that. But I think what we've seen with some other communities is if you're running like a big email push or you're trying to drive folks to do a certain action through other types of channels, you'll see those start to bubble up to the top of this list, depending on what types of outreach you're doing to try to get people to the site. So you can see kind of where certain marketing actions are working versus not. And then I think this view is hopefully helpful to give a sense of what pages they're actually looking at once they get to your site. And so you can get a better sense of which actions are folks more interested in than others. And maybe that can be helpful for you to kind of hone in and prioritize where you want to focus more of your time.
Okay, questions for Mike. This is super helpful.
Yeah.
Questions for Mike? Megan, do you want to say something there?
Sure. I see that we have the like active users. I can see the current month and then the previous month, April. But if I'm going to track this over time, I'm thinking that I'm going to get myself a spreadsheet and just drop the data in every month. Is that what you would do? To watch it like a year's worth of trend?
Yeah, so if you wanted a year's worth, that is one approach. I mean, the other thing that we could potentially discuss too, I mean, that's something that could be, automated in this type of report as well, right? And so if there's certain particular views that you all would find very useful to have and could add like a huge benefit or a huge time saver, I'm sure that we could potentially look into adding that or providing that data in some way. So yeah.
What other people think about that question from Megan? Like, would you want to find a way to see a year's worth of views on active users or? what other people think. You lose some granularity because you probably have like, you could show it in 2-week chunks or something, you know, Mike, otherwise it gets a little, you know, messy. But what do other people think?
Steve and Wendy have their hands up. I don't know.
Oh,
if
sorry,
it's
thank you,
answered
Amy. I
that
just
question.
can't see everything. Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
Let's go Steve and then Wendy.
Hi, Mike. Whenever I see data like this, I'm never sure, okay, what do I do with it? So, you know, am I trying to create more active users? Am I trying to create higher percentage engagement rate or longer engagements? What are the things that are there guidance on what matters and what you would do to try to improve these statistics?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think you're probably not going to like this answer, but I think it depends on the context of kind of where your community's at. Like if you're a community that, you know, is already getting a bunch of people to your site, but maybe they're not like really engaged, or maybe they're not visiting the pages that, you know, you'd like them to be focusing more time on, then maybe you focus more of your actions around, hey, getting them to these particular pages that you think are, you know, impactful, and trying to get them more engaged on the site, as opposed to maybe you're just a newer community and you want to just get some initial people to your site and start to get them more involved, right? Maybe you're more focused on active users. And so I think it might depend on kind of the context of where the community's at, kind of in the maturity spectrum, but I'm not sure if that's helpful or not.
Wendy? Go ahead, Amy.
Can I just weigh in on that? So Steve and folks, what I think of for these is you are doing something as a community outside of the platform, whether you're having speakers somewhere, you're running a campaign, you have a newsletter, you have events, whatever it is, advertising on Facebook. We want to see if those things work. This is one of the places where you can see if those things work. And if you try for a month or a couple of weeks or once a month, try a different technique, maybe you can compare sort of across those, but you can at least usually see some combination of this worked, or I'm not sure if this worked because it was also like summer vacation, or you know, this was amazing. For example, if you look at the upper left graph in Wayland, you see a lot of spikes there in visitors. And that's typical of the April profiles. A lot of people like to jump on in April and take a look at things. And you'll also see that after Wayland has an event, typically you'll see a spike. So it's reinforcing. It's really nice to see it, to see your work in kind of a graphical format.
I think one of the other things that I think is interesting, we definitely look at it for that, but I also think a lot of people don't create accounts, right? They don't register and create an account. And so we feel like we undercount the value of having a platform and a place for people to go for information that's constantly updated. And so I think, Steve, like the active users or sessions is something that I think we're thinking about how to report and show as an outcome metric that enough people went here for information. So I think, Mike, we have to, you know, think about how Amy and I've been talking about how to show how to look at that, you know, across all of the community. So I'll take Wendy's question and then I have a follow-up, but Wendy.
Well, I think you may have just answered it, but I was wondering if there's any way they can tell the number of people who are coming to the site versus the number who have signed up. Because I mean, I think there might be a lot of people looking at our site, but they don't have to sign up.
Right. So I agree. So what's the number we pull for that, Mike? Like that, and these active users, that's not discrete, right? Those aren't discrete IP. Those just like anybody who's went to, so it's the number of like visits to the site, not necessarily users. So if, let's just play with Wayland's data here. If we wanted to say in the month of May, how many times somebody went to the site. Is that 389?
Yeah, so that is like a unique person count based off of like the IP address. So that is a unique count. But what we don't have in here, to Wendy's question, is like how many people have signed up or have an account with Wayland. So that's a data point that we don't have within this set.
But we have it another way, Mike. That's easy for us to find. Like
Yeah.
Wendy knows that quite easily out of her data, so she could say, let's, you know, I mean, I know, so let's say in Wayland, there are 400 signed up people or 600 signed up people, but in the month of May, we had 389 users. We just don't know which of them were people who had accounts versus didn't have accounts. Right?
Right.
But if you looked at, if we were going to like look at over the course of a year, the number, could you look at the active users over a year and give me a discrete number for the year?
Yep.
Because if you did that, Wendy, and then you subtracted the number that are registered, then you'd at least know that delta were people who had at least gone to the site once and or did not register, but went to the site in some way.
Can you also tell what geographic location they're in? I mean, because I wonder if people from other towns around us get on our site and look at it and use, you know, just to get information.
Yeah, Google does expose some geographic information. We would have to potentially explore like pulling that into this type of view, but I think something to that extent would be feasible.
Mike, just a quick comment on that. In the past, the analytics we've shown about geography have not been incredibly valuable. It was more not community level that it was specified at. It may have modified since then. I don't know.
Yeah, I forget exactly the grain. It might only be at like a state level or something like that.
Yeah.
I would have to double check.
Megan?
My question is about the active users and the fact that we're counting them over time. So if I visit on May 1, presumably I'm on that left axis as part of that 24 that visited. And if I come back on May, 20th, am I part of that next number?
Yeah.
So they're not really unique people. Like you can't tell me how many different people came. You can tell me how many different people came on a given day.
So if you add up all of the like the number at the top is a unique count, but the trend is a daily unique count, if that makes sense. And so if you added up all the days, that count would be higher than the 389.
Thank you.
Yep.
And we could get a discrete active users for like an annual and a 6 month, like Amy, I think that would be helpful.
Right. Yep.
Cool. Questions from others? I think it's pretty, I think it's a pretty nice view and interesting. And definitely helps us see the impact of some things we've done, I think, and gives you another way to also talk about how you're engaging people. Some people just aren't going to sign up for accounts, but they're at the site and, whatever it was, a quarter of them are engaged in a way that Google thinks they're engaged, right? Like however they think about that, Mike, we're going to use their definition and their categorization, I guess, right? So cool. Cool. So you'll get it monthly, and I guess if you just bookmark the link, Mike, then you could just go to that link whenever.
Yep, you can go to it whenever, and then we'll also each month you'll get kind of pinged in your email as a reminder as well with the new link.
Okay.
Yep.
Other questions from anybody? I think it's pretty good. It's pretty awesome. A lot of good stuff. We're data heavy this month, a little with EVs and Google Analytics and sharing stuff. So Amy, why don't I just turn to you for software updates?
Yeah. Thanks, Mike. This was a huge help to everyone here.
I just want to say, so Mike, you got to us through Milton, through Alex, or this is an example, let me just say, this is an example of someone from one of our communities sort of saying, hey, I can help you out a little bit. And it's incredibly helpful, Mike. You know, and Alex did this for us before and accessing databases. And, you know, Alex, we've now actually shamed the state into providing data on EVs because we show it was so crappy before. Now we just got to figure out how to sort of pipe it directly in our site. So we'll be back to you about that. But, you know, if you have a skill set around marketing or data or analytics, like, you know, we're all volunteers. We got, you know, one paid staff guy at Mass Energize. So we're all trying to help each other out. So, you know, follow Mike's lead is what I want to say, and Megan's lead. And if we see something we want to do and you think you might have some capacity or know someone who has some capacity to do that, we would love it. And, you know, Mike, a lot of people are going to get to use it, and we appreciate your expertise and willingness to help us on this.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, I'm going to take us home here with a little bit of chatting about our software. I'm going to share my screen. So many of you may know about this feature that we have made live, in which you can share an event that your community is having with other communities. And the other communities then can decide whether they want to put it on their website or not. If they are able to do that or not depends in part on the community posting the event. So I have 3 examples here just to kind of walk us through, you know, likely scenarios. So there's the scenario where within this example, it's the importance of native pollinators. And this is something that's broadly applicable. You know, it doesn't matter what community you're in, it's going to be pretty similar information. So in that case, if I'm the community hosting this event, I'm going to mark all communities can see this event. And then anyone can share that. The one on the right is an example that we did in February, which was about fighting waste in Framingham school cafeterias. That's a really community specific event. So I don't think many people from outside Framingham are really going to want to come. It's not really worth people sharing. So I said, let's just keep this in my community only. And the third example I have is, come on. Oops, sorry. The one that goes in between. So this is another real event that we had, which is a repair cafe. And the organizer for this event said, you know, put it up. We like that, but only really do surrounding communities because we don't want to be swamped with too many people showing up things to fix from all over Metro West. So I wrote that, okay, only communities I select should see this. And so I have just the surrounding communities or ones that our members might be in. The reason I'm going over this is because the community admins get an email every week that has a list of events. The more appropriate that list is, the more likely your event is going to be shared by those community admins. We're all going to get discouraged if we have 10 events that aren't really relevant, but we might get really excited if we have, you know, 5 events that are really relevant and 2 that aren't. So just when you're creating your event, just think about that. And if people have questions about how that works, we can take those really quick now, or share thoughts on how it's working.
Questions for Amy? As in, Wendy?
I've posted some events that people might not, they may think that they have to come to Newburyport to participate or to see a speaker, but it's being recorded. And so somebody could watch it, well, they could stream it online or they could watch it at a future date. So I just wish that there was a way to, you know, when you put the place and the time under the image that you could say online too, or do people understand?
Yeah. That's a great point, and we're working on that, Wendy. I'm sorry, it takes a while sometimes for great software, even simple great ideas to get pulled in. So that is on the list. It's more about the topic as much as like the in-person piece. So if that's what I guess my emphasis was, is the topic relevant to lots of people outside your community, only those in your community, everyone, etc. Okay, great. So continuing on, we were really excited to create that little bit of help for our community admins and to share events. We have some other ideas that we really are working to develop, and we are looking for some people that might want to test these out. So basically, want to help us test some cool new features. We have developed these. They're almost ready to go to test version. And the way this will work is we'll provide a detailed explanation and show you all the features, et cetera, on a separate meeting. We don't need to go into that level of detail here. And if you sign up, you can come to this meeting to see if you're interested. And then if you want to be a tester, the one thing you need to know is that you're activating a feature for your entire community. What that means, let me explain. One of the pieces that we are testing is the ability for the software to send a reminder to users that an event is coming up. If a user wants to be notified of an event, they can choose that. The default, I believe, is weekly, that an email will go out from your community of events in a week. Is that right, Kat? Did I get the default right? Yeah, okay. So once a week, your registered users on the platform would get an email with notice of events that are coming up. They can modify that to their own personal preference. I never want to see this. I want to see this once a month. I want to see this, just the day before, etc. There's a couple options for people to adjust. But that piece of functionality, we want to test with a couple interested communities and get feedback before we release it to everyone. Another example of that is the ability for your users that are logged in to submit potential new ideas for actions or events or service providers to you as a community admin. You would then go into the admin portal and decide what, if you want to, just like a testimonial, do you want to post as is? Does it need work? Do you want to reach out to this person and have them submit more information, etc. So follow up. So that would be another new feature for our software. So if people are interested in those, at least learning more, please just shoot us an email. We can send that to support@massenergize.org.
Or I think just to seize the day, Amy, like if you're interested, put it in the chat, put your email in the chat right now, like to save yourself a step.
Yeah.
Anybody, we could, you could say, I'm interested in testing one of these or both of them, but we need more of the users to test stuff, not just us. We're a little too close sometimes,
Yeah. So happy to take questions after a bit. We're going to try and wrap up in the next couple minutes. So I'm going to go to the next slide, which is, I believe, the last slide, which is for any of you that are community admins, you do have to sign a memorandum of understanding every year. We've integrated that into the portal, so no more email back and forth. Basically, you're going to get an email that looks generally like this. You're going to follow instructions. You're going to click proceed. It takes you to your CADMIN portal where you can accept it and then proceed to go on to your community. So this is all automated, and should be a lot less work for everyone involved. And that should be rolling out within the month. Ellen, you have a question.
Sort of relates to the last.
Sure.
So when, how do I say this? So when you do, we don't use the events page on Harvard Energize because, and I keep trying to figure out if there's an easier way, because we have more people whose email we have captured from events and other things who we might not have been able to push onto Harvard Energize, but who we want to reach out to come to things. So as a team, we've just we don't use MailChimp, we use some other thing, but we have an email list where we distribute stuff. So I don't know how to share, like, I get those notices and then I don't know how, like, if I want to tell people how to share it, because if I put it on as events on Harvard Energize, it only goes to the number that's signed up. It doesn't go to the whole group. And the group is probably 3 times the size of who, even though we're begging people to go on Harvard Energize. I can't get everybody to go on. So I don't know how to make it work, but maybe I'm just the only one out there who has just chosen to do it this way. And this is where we're kind of stuck.
Well, couldn't they just post it? You could create it on Harvard Energize, and then in your, just say it's MailChimp, in your newsletter, you'd say, here's an event. If you want more, click here, and it would just take them to that page on Harvard Energize.
Make them make another step. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, or just copy the text and just put it in your newsletter.
Okay. No, I hear you. That's an idea.
Those are 2 things. Alex looks like maybe he has a smarter idea, which would be appropriate.
All right. Any other questions or comments? And if you think of something later, please just reach out. Let me make sure that was all the slides. Yep, that was it. That's it for
Alex, do you just want to say, thank you. Alex, do you just want to say something more about what you put in the chat there? Syncing the event database to a Google Calendar feed and. Yep, I don't think we can hear him. Can you guys hear him?
No,
Alex,
we can't hear you.
I think you're having an audio issue. Oh, all right. All right. So we can follow up. All right. I think we are at time, and so we're perfect. So any other next meeting ideas? I think there's been some, I know several communities are working on school composting. So we've heard of that. I do think we were planning on having someone from DOT kind of do a demo of the online portal. If people will find that interesting on how to hold the data from this new online portal for EVs. Are there other topics, or in the chat, just tell me of those, which of them you kind of fundraising might be another idea. Are there composting? I don't know. Can I just get a sense? Thumbs up, thumbs down on composting? It's just easier to see. Couple of people. Mix. All right. And just a demo of the portal that you can, so you can pull your own EV data and take a look at it from the state person. Okay, maybe a little more interested in that. Okay. Okay, great. Maybe we'll try and we can get her for September. Amy might be good. And fundraising, how to raise funds locally or also through us. Like, think about that. Okay, sounds like that's of interest. Okay, great. Amy, I think we got those, right?
Yep.
I want to wish everybody a wonderful summer. You guys are, Megan, final thoughts. Survey about the conference.
Yep. Can you just, everybody go down there and click on that link, or just get ready to click on that link so that you could take the survey.
How long will the survey take people, Megan?
Oh, it won't take, 6 minutes, 3 minutes.
Oh, we should have done it during the meeting. So
I know, I looked, nobody did. I was thinking people might multitask, but we really need your input. Like, if we're going to do it, it's going to be a lot of effort and it's going to be awesome. And so we want to make it as helpful as we can for you. And if it's not going to be helpful, we want to know that too. Like, you'd rather not spend the time or that sort of thing. So thank you.
Maybe people could take 5 minutes now and just do it now. Give us some feedback, and we won't have to bug you because it's for us, right? It's for you, it's for us. And I think, we want to give people some skills and find ways to apply. Anyway, we have a bunch of ideas, but we really need to hear from you guys.
And Debbie had a good question. Yes, I would be happy if other team members took the survey. So we've got you here tonight, but maybe you work with 4 other people, because it's those other 4 people too that we're hoping to have in the room in the fall.
Yep. And I think you could share it with your sustainability manager too. That's the kind of person we also would be very willing to have at the event. Okay. All right. Thank you for attending, and we'll see you all in September, please do fill out the survey and check out Thinkific, and we'll be entering your EV data unless you tell us not to, and it'll just increase your total number of actions. And the other thing I think Amy and I will work out just from a comparative standpoint is sort of number of EVs, per 100 people, because we can normalize the data. Because it's hard for me to compare myself to Newton. There's so many more people there, or to Concord, twice the size, and other places are teeny. So like how are we doing like in using some, normalized data would be a fun thing to go. Wendy?
We have that. I just didn't want to overload people with data right tonight.
All right. We're going to end 4 minutes late, but we're going to end now. Thanks very much, guys.